Hello everybody, today we're going to be talking about people who claim to be prophets at the time of Muhammad, and we're talking about old people, we're talking about kids, we're talking about women, men, companions of the prophets, random people, kings and warriors that claim to be prophets at the time of Muhammad. We're going to start by the most influenced person, the Theo monarch Abu Aswad Al Ansi. He wasn't a normal person. He was a Yemeni mystic. He was an occult leader in Sana'a in modern Yemen. He lived in about 630, and he started his journey realizing that there's a new religion being formed called Islam, all the way in Mecca, according to Islamic narrations. And he wanted to be a prophet, and he wanted to feel that honor. And once upon a time, the prophet gave the people of Yemen from Mu'adh ibn Jabal gifts, and one of the gifts went and reached Abu al-Aswad al-Ansi. He took that gift and he claimed to be a prophet. He claimed that that gift meant that the prophet is giving his prophethood to Abu al-Aswad al-Ansi. So, talking about this person, he wasn't a normal person. He became a tribe leader in his local neighborhood, and later on, he waged wars with surrounding tribes, and he won, and he built his own castle, his own Hassan in Sana'a, and he ruled as a prophet king. We're talking about his religion. We don't know a lot about his religion, but we know that Yemen at that time was suffering from a lot of cultural changes. Well, first in like 200 300 years, it has been invaded by the Persian Sassanid Zoroastrians, and Yemen became a province, a southern province of the Sassanid Empire. And the Sassanids were the people who kind of like made Zoroastrianism formalized, organized religion. And we also have Ethiopic Axumites who came here and preached Christianity with their missionaries, and they actually surprisingly successfully made the whole place called Najran Christians. And as you can see in Arabian poetry, these people weren't normal Christians, they were very, very religious Christians. Before that, we have the Himyarite Jews. The first extra biblical Jewish empire was in Yemen. How surprising is that? We're talking about 200 years of Jewish kings like Dhu Nawas, who crazy person and persecuted Christians around the area. He became a theo monarch, Moshiach. And Moshiach, which is like the Messiah, is an appointed by God leader for Jewish people in the land of Yemen. And before that, we have the Sabines and the Katbanis, the Osanis, who were polytheists, like the Qurayshites of Muhammad's time. So we can say that this person, according to Islamic narration, because he was like a Kabbalistic, a mystic who merged with Christian Orthodox Ethiopic traditions. Oh, I can only imagine Book of Enoch. And then he merged also with Quranic, Muhammadic religion, and he blasted and became his own prophet. And somehow he ruled Yemen. Later on, Mu'adh ibn Jabal sent a person called Dilami, Fairuz Dillami, the turquoise of Dilam, and he came and he acted like he's gonna go there and he's gonna fix something in the wall. He cracked the wall, he went into Abu al-Aswad al-Ansi's house and he killed the man. And who helped that happen? It was Abu al-Aswad al-Ansi's female slave, or according to Islamic traditions, wife. And why did that happen? Well, because he had a Persian wife who he stole from the Persian leaders in Yemen, and then they told Al-Dilami, because he was also a Persian companion of the Prophet, and the Prophet wanted that guy dead. So a lot of people think that he came times later. No, he did not come later. He came at the time of Muhammad, in the middle time of Muhammad, and he died only a couple months after Prophet's Hajjat al-Wada. Now we have a very, very evil person according to Islamic history. He's called Muslim al-Hanafi, or Muslim al-Kazab, and Muslim al-Habib. I think his name was Muslima, and the Muslims made him Musailamah, as in making him a shorter Muslim, because anything that is ala wazn fu'ila makes it short. So his name was Muslim, and the Muslims in their writings, in their literature, turned him to Musailama, as in a very small, weak Muslim. He was a tribe leader in modern day Yamama and ancient day Yamama. Yeah, we don't know anything about a religion, but we know that this guy was so bad that he killed from 70 to 360 Hufaz of the Quran. So that basically means that from 70 to 360 people who memorized verse to verse, chapter to chapter of the Quran were dead in this guy's bloody wars. He wanted Islam dead. He wanted his religion to succeed the Prophet Muhammad's religion. This guy was also a poet. He also wrote his own Quran, copying Muhammad's message. I'm going to recite to you Surah Al-Fil and Surah Al-Dufda', the chapter of the frog and the chapter of the elephant. Not the Quranic chapter of elephant, the Musailamic chapter of elephant. So, الفيل وما أدراك ما الفيل الفيل ذو خرطوم طويل. The elephant, what is an elephant? The elephant with the long trunk. Very ridiculous, hilarious surah. And then يا ضفدع يا ضفدعين ما لك تنطقين نصفك في الماء ونصفك في الطين. Oh frog, what are two frogs? Half of them are in the water, half of them are in the mud. Why are they spotted? Very stupid, very ridiculous hadith. Surah. Very ridiculous. I don't think that he actually came up with that. I think that a lot of people, a lot of Muslim historians, and a lot of different Muslim literature writers and scripts made up this ridiculous surah, and they claim that is Musailama surah, kind of like insulting him. This person was not normal, let me tell you. He's the only person that I'm going to mention that is archaeologically proved to be real by historians. He has his own currency in Arabia. So the last guy, ASWAD Al ANSI, was a king. He had his own castle. This person has his own coin made of obrezium, which is gold. It's stamped in Constantinople in the Byzantine Empire, and full of crosses. So this guy's definitely Christian, influenced him. Not only that, but people find a lot of his coins. Until now, I've not seen all, but there's 3 coins that have been found. His name is mentioned with his political title, which is Amir al-Mu'mineen. If you don't know, that's a name that was only supposed to be given to the caliphates of Islam, and not some random dude that goes to be a prophet. He's Amir al-Mu'mineen. He's the prince of the believers before the caliphate even started. He claimed to be a prophet in the half-life of Medina of Prophet Muhammad. His coin has 2 facing the front, which is Hercules and his son, full of crosses and full of Roman pictionaries, imagery. At the end of his life, he did die in Yamama by the companion of Muhammad, Abu Bakr, the caliph, the first caliph. But the problem is, before that, he married to a very, very dark person in Islamic history, if not even the darkest. Her name was SAJAA Bint Al Harith. She's from Bani Taghlib, all the way up in the Lakhmid era. If you play the game Ataliya, you will know what I'm talking about. This is a Christian, Persianized Arabic state that the Sassanids made up, and they took the Arabs, they put them there to make up a wall for the Byzantines to not attack them. This is very weird because they were normal Christians. They were Nestorian, Assyrian, heretic Christians who believed in 2 Jesuses. No, we're not talking about the Doceses. We're not talking about the Ebionites. We're talking about the Nestorians, who also emerged from the roots of Arius in Alexandria. Very weird. And because, of course, she's a prophetess, I'm sure that Christian influences, Persian myths, and prophetess, so they must, believe that she's the incarnation of Mother Mary or something like that, that she's somehow a prophet, a female prophet. So definitely their Trinity has like weird stuff about Maryam, Mary, and maybe even that's why Mary is written in the Quran as being the third triune God in the Trinity. أَتَتَّخِذُونَ أُمِّي إِلَهَيْنِ مِن دُونِ اللَّهِ. At the end of her life, she actually became a Muslim. That is very surprising. Abu al-Aswad al Ansi died screaming, and the people thought that he's receiving divine revelations. MUSAILAMAH al Kazab also died in the middle of a war, but she, SAJAA, became a Muslim. Isn't that surprising? And about people becoming Muslim, there is a Muslim companion of the Prophet called TULAIHA bin Asad, TULAIHA bin Asad. But later on, again, this is my theory, the Muslim literasts and classicists turn him to TULAIHA. So the smaller TULAIHA, the short TULAIHA bin Asad. His tribe is actually mentioned in the Quran, which is very surprising because we have people mentioning the Quran that later on became, antichrists of Islam. So we have in Surah Al-Hujurat, وقالت الأعراب آمنا قل لن تؤمنوا ولكن قولوا أسلمنا ولما يدخل الإيمان في قلوبكم وإن تطيعوا الله ورسوله لا يلدكم من أعمالكم شيئا إن الله غفور رحيم. Basically means that this person, this TULAIHA, was from the Banu Asad tribe, and that's what the verse is talking about, that these people, these nomadic people from the Arabs coming you and telling you that we are Muslims aren't actually believing, they're just Muslims, as in they just claim to be Muslims, but in their hearts they do not believe that you're the Prophet. So that is also a very weird thing, that TULAIHA not only claimed to be a prophet, but he also, like Musailamah and like Abu al-Aswad al Ansi and like the others, waged wars against the first Caliph Abu Bakr, and later on was defeated by Khalid bin Walid. He and her wife, SAJAA, another wife, ran to Syria and then came and became Muslims. And again, he's not a normal Muslim, because even at the time that he was a Muslim, Abu Bakr said that he's a weird Muslim and we should not trust him because of his very dark backstory. Okay, now let's talk about kids playing in Medina, playing normal things that kids in Medina will do. But this kid called SAFI bin Sayyad, which has a whole chapter in Sahih Muslim, his name, I do not recommend to read it because it's too long. Listen to this. He's basically playing there in the presence of Prophet Muhammad. Prophet Muhammad goes to that random kid and says, "Do you witness that I am the Prophet of Lord?" And the kid says, "Do you witness, O Prophet of Lord, that I am the Prophet of Lord?" So very, creepy kid. Umar ibn Khattab gets mad and he takes his sword and he says, "Oh Muhammad, I will cut this kid's head off." Muhammad says, "If he is the Antichrist, listen, if he is the Antichrist, then you cannot overpower him. And if he is just a kid claiming to be a prophet, well, you will be killing a kid. That's bad morally. So do not kill the kid. We're just gonna spy on him." So they go and they spy on him. This guy, this kid, Ibn Sayyad, goes and sits down, reads some crazy things in a bush, and then these satanic angelic beings come down and he received divine revelation about the weather. Great job, kid. And then they're watching him, they're, "Oh my God, Prophet, look what he's doing." His mother comes, the kid's mother comes, and he says, "Oh Prophet, it's just a kid, it's just a weird kid, leave him alone." Very cool story, Sahih Muslim, very beautiful. And honorable mention, another person called Al-Azdi, who ruled in Oman. Again, he was a king. So we're talking about 3 kings of Arabia who claimed to be prophets. and they're all tribal leaders. He was a tribal leader in Diba, and we're talking about UAE and Omanic borders in the mountain area. He also died in the Ridda Wars, in the Apostasy Wars, in the First Caliphate. And Khalid ibn Walid was not there. So this guy who, according to history, won 100 wars and not lose one war, did not crush this guy. He either died or became Muslim later on. So that was the introduction, actually. What we're actually going to be talking about is why these people claim to be prophets. So imagine that you're an Arab, you're in the Arabian Peninsula, you're in this very crazy place. Criminals are being sent from Persia and Rome and Egypt and all these places into the Arabian Peninsula because these desert places were the only places that you can make up plans against the Persian Empire, and all these criminals used to go there and used to do their crazy stuff in the Arabian tribes. People who were against the church, listen, people who were against the church also ran to Arabia. And Jews who were exiled from Jerusalem after 70 AD ran to Arabia. We have all of these people who were planning to rule the world and destroy the superpowers and make up some crazy heretical religions. They all were living in Arabia. One of them was this kid, one of them was Al Asadi, and story goes on. And Muhammad, in the middle of all these prophets, either he was the first one, because according to weak narrations, and I don't like weak narrations, but weak narrations, hadith daif and tarikh daif, sirah, they actually claim to be prophets before Muhammad. So we're talking about MUSAILAMAH al KAZAB, MUSAILAMAH Habib or Hanifa. He claimed to be a prophet before Muhammad. That is very weird, and it can hardly be true because it's very weak. And according to these traditions, the Meccans did not believe that Muhammad was a prophet because they thought that Muhammad is copying Musailamah. And God knows best. God really knows best. We don't know what happened because the Muslim literates did not write anything about these people. All they wrote was, bad stuff, and they smelled bad and they looked bad and they're short or something. One thing for sure is they all made up their own religions. We don't know what their religions were, but they were backed up and they were hard. And you remember SAJAA in her war, she had about 40,000 people backing her up, supporting her and fighting with her. We're talking about a female prophetess in North Arabia who has 40,000 people following her. That's a medieval source, man. It could be 14,000, it could be 4,000, it could be 400. Yeah, sure. They're definitely magnified in some way. But some people saying 40,000 people were against Islam is not good history, so they won't make up some number. Let's just say 14,000 or 4,000. Still a big number. So big number of people were leaving Islam. They weren't leaving like the Islam because even Musailamah and SAJAA, they were kind of Muslims because they could say the Shahada. They all believed that Muhammad was a prophet. And they all believed in monotheism. We're talking about the kid, we're talking about the woman, we're talking about that old guy in Yemen. They all believed in one God. But they thought that they were prophets too. So they all could say, Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah, Ashhadu anna Muhammad Rasulullah, but they added some stuff later. That was today's story, and thank you so much.